Welcome to Get Serious. Today, just wanted to share a little bit more behind the scenes, specifically regarding AI use and its capabilities, and how I think that high quality writing is just not in any danger of being replaced at the moment. For my own sake, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth with it in terms of like, yeah, if you could just snap your fingers and just have better quality copy being available, would I take that versus, kind of preserving the skill set of being a higher quality writer to still, justify additional value into the marketplace. There's a push-pull there. Specifically in relation to emails in our case here. Well, there's a few different avenues. I mean, there's just like general email drafting. And I know I've commented on like serifized, and in practice, honestly, I find myself utilizing the pre-drafted responses fairly infrequently, honestly, like less than 10% of the time. Usually for like short emails, it might be a little bit better. For longer ones, I might get a few ideas on it, but it also like can hallucinate certain responses and just come up with numbers, related to like funding decisions and so forth that just aren't accurate. So that's still a work in progress. Out of any work tool, that to me might be like the holy grail is, if I could just have an auto communication mechanism, both for text messages and emails, ideally for phone calls too. But I haven't seen anything that quite hits the mark, especially for things that require more nuanced responses or even like medium level of nuance. It just has not hit the mark yet. But then on like, actual writing projects, like for instance, the Serious News newsletter, and now that been doing more email marketing for Land Pricer as well. So usually for Serious News, again, weekly newsletter, again, a little bit more on how the sausage is made. And I might have talked about this before, but just a rehash in where we're at, especially in the production side and how AI comes into play here. So I have a separate Claude project that has custom instructions related to my overall tone and style, general breakdown of how those emails work, and they follow a relatively similar framework and tone of voice for the most part. And so like I've tried to just constantly reiterating with Claude on how to update the custom instructions, plus like every time I write an email, like the final copy will get added to the project knowledge so that it can pull precisely what have some of these past emails look like, so then you can just update it. And like most of the time my content from or for the newsletter has been covered within a previous Get Serious podcast episode, whether it's one episode, 2 episodes, 3 episodes. There might be a little bit of a mix. And so usually I'll throw in, I'll go into that Claude project and I'll throw in a copy of the transcript from the podcast. And then I'll throw in, maybe a little bit of directives on how I want to structure the overall email, which, core points are more important here. And then again, like, okay, pull in, maybe it's most related to this particular previous email in terms of the overall style. And then, just wait for Claude to populate. Plus I'll ask it to give me, some anticipated high performing subject lines to bump open rates. Like the open rates are pretty solid. Actually, I don't know what industry averages even are, but like I'm routinely between like 55 to 65%, which I think is really high for open rates. So kudos to the audience for wanting to read what I have to write. But we're always looking to improve that as well. And like the click-through rates usually no higher than like 5-ish% or so, which is probably still pretty high on that as well. But I know there can always be further improvements from that regard. Unsubscribes are fairly low to like less than 1% at the time. I'm not sure. I mean, usually we're kind of adding anybody we have contact with will be added to the list, and they can always unsubscribe if they want. But I just attribute it to churn, or they don't like my tone of voice, whatever, or it's just not as relevant to them. Okay, that's fine. I don't want to be delivering emails to folks who aren't interested. That's going to hurt my metrics overall. So You want to continue to warm your correct audience. Overtime is always the goal here. Plus, I don't want to pay for people who are just inactive on my list. And so that kind of goes back to how I'll orient the Claude project. And I've been doing these weekly emails now for at least 4 months, roughly, somewhere around there. And I think only once I had a email that popped out that was like close, or like copy from Claude that popped out that was like 80-85% done and required fairly minimal edits. The rest of this time, especially lately, honestly, I felt like it's just been a bit worse, or maybe it's like just my eye for the writing has become even keener. And like the Claude models have improved too. Now it's on like Claude 4 Sonnet, just got better at copywriting, and Claude is generally known as being best for content production out of all the LLM models. Plus, again, like my project knowledge continues to grow. And like the voice, just oftentimes it's not there. And I've had to reorient the custom instructions. Like, okay, anytime, hey, here's the final copy. Like, you still missed a lot. How should we update the custom instructions? Like, sometimes it's relevant, and like the custom instructions got so bloated to where I felt it was just off. And I'm like, okay, let's just like boil it down to be less restrictive and just utilize the project knowledge more. And that hasn't worked quite as well either. And again, like I have all my core voice, which I think is just it's still really hard for AI to pick out, the signal from the noise here. And like the signal should be super strong, right? Like I'm giving it podcast transcript, like my exact phrasing, tone of voice, style, how I'm conveying a subject, like all of that is right there, the way that I'm talking. Plus I have now a growing number of exact final copy for previous newsletters following a certain style and trying to update the custom instructions, and it still can't routinely nail the copy or even like really get it fully there. So usually I'll just take that initial copy and I might try a couple iterations, like, hey, you got to try hard. Like, this just sounds like AI slop. It's way too bland. It'll come back, try to match my voice a little bit better. And then generally I will copy and paste it into MailChimp, which is the service I'll use to send out the email. But then I'll just go line by line, just continue to edit. Like, that's usually my writing process. Is okay, at least I have a draft to work with, and then I'll just adjust. Do I need to move things here, etc. To get it to my voice, and then I'll go back to Claude. Like, okay, here's what I really like here, and then I'll also ask it, like, hey, anything else that you might suggest improving here, and it can provide feedback in terms of, was your hook good enough, or any other adjustments that I want to consider. So it can also serve as a copy editor, which its functions in that regard is definitely better than its ability to produce copy, which, no surprise, because producing the actual copy it's a more difficult skill. But like in terms of time for me to do this, like it usually ranges an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours plus to really nail these. Like, again, good open rates, good readership. Like, I continue to get praise from, and just good reviews from readers on this particular output. Plus, like, again, we're syndicating, and every couple of weeks we'll have an article go live on RE Tipster as well, which has a lot more eyeballs. So like I put a lot of effort into doing this right. But again, I think this is just an example where it's like, even having all these advantages, my exact voice, transcripts, existing knowledge, and like, utilizing the best AI model currently available on the market, still misses the mark to where I'm having to do an hour, 2 hours of just adjustments and rewriting to get it to hit my tone of voice, because like I know I'll just lose the readership, like, and I'll feel bad personally, like guilty. Hey, if I'm just pushing AI slop out there that's not matching my true intentions, because like the way that I'm talking to you now via podcast, like that is a tone of voice that should be conveyed over into the Serious News newsletter. So, and again, I think I'm doing a good job in regard to that based on the response. But like that's always the one-to-one goal there, because you want the true personality and intentions to show up. So all of this again is to say that, I mean, these AI models are always getting more powerful, right? But that would make my job a lot easier, right? Especially, again, if I have these, like if I can just throw a transcript in, okay, just reorient this to the structure of the email, boom, can just post it and I'm done in like, 10 minutes to get it out. That would make that would make my days, my weekends a lot easier. But like we are still very far away, and I'm not even writing that long of article. I mean, usually less than 1,000 words, like 500 to maybe 750 words, roughly. Like it's not much content. So imagine like if you're doing much longer form content or even books, etc. All of a sudden that complexity is just through the roof in terms of what AI could potentially produce. And I hear this from other newsletter writers or full authors as well here. Again, we're just a while off from, unless things just dramatically improve with some of these upcoming models, which I'm sure they will eventually get there. It's just not really that close as of yet, especially when you consider the additional level of complexity to consider. So in the meantime, it's still a valuable skill set. And, if you can convey your thoughts into words, I mean, if you can be a storyteller, like, I don't know, is there more powerful skill to have as an entrepreneur? It's up there. And certainly within the top 5, you can make an argument for the number one skill. So in the meantime, like it continues to refine my writing skills, just keep getting better and better and better endlessly, because like I'm not stopping anytime soon. And I've been recognized for writing before, like even growing up in school, etc. Like took a lot of pride in writing and was good at it, right? And so now that I can show it more in a consistent professional manner outside of just general emails and so forth, transactional emails internal to your Gmail system or whatever, which is a skill in and of itself, but a whole newsletter setup. I appreciate the ability to produce and provide value for people to actually read and consume. And like it does make you feel good. Like a lot of times, I might procrastinate and just be a bit annoyed, to have to get started. And then sometimes in the process in which the AI was just better at matching my voice. So there was just less rewriting going on. But every time that I reach a final product, like I do feel satisfied and proud to send it out. And as soon as that doesn't happen and I try to rush it, I know the response will be very negative from that, both from myself and from the audience. So like that is my promise to you, to always be delivering quality and not mailing it in. So just wanted to share again some more behind the scenes and thoughts behind this process. SeriousLand.capital for any of your funding needs, Land Daily Diligence Facebook group for zero cost review of your land deals, and LandPricer.ai for the most reliable land pricing tool on the market. With that, subscribe and share. Take care, everybody, and talk to you tomorrow. Bye.